A few Goldilock Bears podcasts with Fitz and Cloud.
John Nemeth.
And David Lauer.
And this is the show where we talk about loves, hates, indifferences or ambivalences, things we're on the fence about. Uh Today, two topics each. Yeah, we're cutting it down.
Sorry.
We're cutting the gristle off this. Trimming the fat. But before we do any of that, we have to talk about old topics in a segment we call the Deja Fuse. Go ahead, Dave.
So this is kind of a mix on a couple things. We've talked about bands that have multiple lead singers. I've talked about how I love like some of the Linkin Park albums. Linkin Park has a new lead singer now. I don't even know her name. I probably should have looked it up. But they have a new lead singer, and it's there's mixed reviews.
Is that?
And yeah.
Oh shit. Well, no, I thought it
Um,
was more controversial because they even had a replacement, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's some people don't like that there's a replacement for Chester Bennington who committed suicide in 2017. Um, some people are like, well, yeah, you can get a new singer, but they should sound like Chester Bennington, so that way it sounds like Chester and you're kind of paying homage to him and trying to, carry on like what he did with the music. But they kind of zigzagged or whatever, and they got a female lead singer, and like their new song that they came out with a new album, their new single that is out that she sings is awesome. I love it. My problem is when she's singing all the old classic Linkin Park songs, I don't like it. Like,
Oh.
because she has a totally different singing style than Chester Bennington, obviously, and it doesn't work for me personally when she's singing all the old stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm like, make a new band, have new music, that's fine. But like them recreating the old stuff with the new lead singer, it just doesn't work for me. I don't like it. Um, but at the same time, I'm not saying that she's not talented because she is, because I like their new stuff that I've never heard before.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's interesting. So what had they been doing since 2017? Anything? Or were they just like dormant?
I think
I think like Mike Shinoda, the other singer in the band, he's always done other musical projects. I think he'll produces stuff. He's probably worked with other artists. Um, but I think he kind of wants to work on his like have his own band again. And I think he's feels like, enough time has passed to kind of turn the chapter and move on.
yeah. The band's not even like Bennington's missing, but so is Rob, the drummer. He's no longer part of the band anymore.
Yeah.
Which was like a gradual thing apparently. Like most people, most hardcore fans kind of realize like, oh, he's not showing up for interviews with the band for the past 5 years, something like that. And then Brad, the lead guitarist, I think that's his name. He's part of the band, but only in the studio. I guess he's not going to tour with them or anything. So they got a whole nother guitarist, traveling guitarist with them. So that's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dave, like being an outside observer, that at this point just like be a new band with a new name.
Oh,
And
really? Oh, shit.
well, yeah, like if there's like so few original members left and the new singer sounds nothing like the old singer, like to the point where like you can't even like pretend like, oh yeah, like this is kind of like the original lineup. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
like
like when Journey got a new lead singer, like the
Oh,
guy
shit.
sounds just like him
Yeah.
or even better. And it's just like, man, this is awesome. Like I saw Journey live a couple years ago and I'm like, this guy's better. Is it Steve Perry, I think?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, who's like the original lead singer, but he's like in the 70s now, and this new younger guy who's like late 40s, 50, like he sounds phenomenal. And I'm like, I don't think Steve Perry sounds that good anymore. So I'm like, it's like, but he's singing the same songs, but like trying to give it that old school sound. One thing I was gonna say is that Dave Grohl, like when was part of Nirvana, and then when Kurt Cobain died, Dave Grohl didn't like reinvent Nirvana. Like he went and made a new band. He made Foo Fighters, and it wasn't like, okay, we need to find a replacement here for Kurt, and kind of it was just like, okay, we're gonna turn the chapter on that and move something different. And
Yeah,
I
same
kind of
with like
like that.
yeah, same with like Sublime. They what is like the Long Beach All Stars or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's like all of the members except for Bradley, and they, you know, came up with a new name because it wasn't the same anymore.
Hmm. Well, okay, so I was there to see the live, well, not there, but like when they streamed the live performance where they're like, "Hey, this is our new singer and stuff." I liked it. I thought her voice is raspy and she was able to hit some of those, not some, but most of those notes of Bennington's. So I wasn't really mad about it, but I'll tell you who is for sure mad about it. Bennington's son. He's like, you erased his legacy, and like on especially in Suicidal Awareness Month, I'm like, holy shit. Like I didn't realize it was that bad or whatever. And then and now he's saying that fans are attacking him online. And I'm like, man, that doesn't sound like Linkin Park fans. Like they're all usually really chill and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really surprised this is having so much controversy, but yeah.
All right, well, to any angry fans who might target me, I say I don't know anything about the situation. I'm just reacting what I'm learning here now, and my mind can't be changed.
Uh oh, and then one more thing, which is again with the lead singer. Apparently, she testified for Danny Masterson in his trial.
Like
You
on
know,
his side.
yeah,
Okay.
and uh, and then of course he was found guilty. So people are like, "What the fuck?" But then she, the lead singer, yeah, what's her fucking name? God damn it. She was like, "Well, I was asked to testify for him, and I was like one of the first to do it, and that was before all the other information came in and stuff like that, and even more witnesses against him came in." So I don't know. It's just very tricky stuff. Like, yeah, it's great. Linkin Park's never been controversial at all, and now they're just surrounded by it. Yikes. Almost makes you want to change your name, right?
Yeah, and like you can even do Linkin Park covers if you want. You know what I mean? Like,
All right. Should we get the show started?
sure. You know what? I would love to start
It's the
and
first time
take
I'm
that
hearing of this.
initiative. Um, I'm gonna say I'm indifferent to the language learning app Duolingo. And I say that as someone who, has like a multi-year streak on it. Um, I I think it's great for like just keeping yourself kind of thinking about the language that you're trying to learn, and like um, giving you some intro to it and some knowledge in it. But there's just a lot of stuff that it doesn't do that I just feel like you can never truly learn a language from it. So, like a few years ago, I actually like had completed the the Russian language lessons that they had, and I did not feel like I knew Russian at that point. I'm like at this point, like, what do I do now? Um, and there's like they don't offer you any guidance to like what how do you like continue in your quest for language learning. Um, and like I really just kind of got stuck at that point. And then now, since there's no new lessons, I hadn't like actually used Russian on there anymore. So now, like the skill that I had from completing that, I've lost a lot of that now, and haven't really gone back to it. And like I'm kind of playing around with a couple other languages on there now, and just like they don't really explain why things are the way they are. Like they throw grammar at you and you like see the patterns and you can kind of like guess like, oh, I'm going to use this ending here because it's this type of case and tense or whatever, but they don't explain it. So you are just kind of guessing if you understand it correctly. And like I've been doing German on it, which is made up of like compound words for everything. And like the words are like 7 syllables long and stuff a lot of times. But they don't like teach you all the individual words that it's made up of that would help you understand what the word means as a compound word. So just there's a lot of stuff they could do for like mnemonic devices, which is a thing that I love, that they're just not really doing. Have you guys ever played around with this app at all?
I just wanted to say real quick, when you were learning Russian and you were like speaking it, and then slowly it went away and you were speaking English, something out of a McTiernan movie.
Yes. It's like Sean Connery.
I did use it. I think it was Navajo I tried to learn. I'm like, hey, it's got to be just as easy, right? But no, it was weird. Like the lessons were quick, but almost too quick. And I thought I remembered one word. I think it was Shima as his mom, and but everything else was kind of hard. And then, how long is your streak? How long are you?
I don't know. I think for some reason they kept my streak even when I didn't do it for a week when I was camping.
Oh God!
But it's like 500 days or something like that. I don't know.
Wow. And it's still not like stuff is still not sticking.
I mean, the stuff that they teach me is sticking, but like I don't feel like I could like walk around Moscow and like talk to people. You know what I mean?
Maybe Ukraine. There's some Russian people there. God damn it.
Ooh.
Um, but yeah, I kind of I wanted to learn. I saw they offer Klingon, and I'm like, oh
Uh-huh.
God, am I that geeky? Am I willing to learn that? Because part of me is, but I chose Navajo a little bit. What about you, Dave?
I've never used it. My wife has used it to try and learn Spanish. I think it lasted maybe like a month or something. She did it, but then this was probably like a year ago. But after a month, because I don't know, she was gonna learn Spanish. She did the Duolingo, and then you're also instructed to like immerse yourself in the language. So she listened to like Spanish music all the time. She would watch TV shows, and then if they had like Spanish audio, she would watch that. Or not, well, actually, no, I don't think it was that way. I think it had to actually be like Spanish stuff because you wanted to be able to like look at their mouth and be able to like match it. I think that's kind of something she learned. She like didn't want something that
Mhm.
was actors are in English and then it was dubbed over. She wanted to be able to actually like watch their mouths speak Spanish because it kind of helps you. Um, she did that, yeah, for about a month, but I don't know. I remember every day she would kind of be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna do my Duolingo thing," and she would kind of just like staring at her phone and for like 5 minutes, and then that was it. So is it like every day you have one lesson?
I mean, you can do it as long as you want for the day, but you have to do
Okay.
one lesson to keep your streak, and then they give you like three different goals every day. Like it might be like learn 15 minutes or um, complete 5 lessons or get 3 perfect lessons or that kind of stuff. But yeah, like another thing too is like they'll have you like translate a sentence. For the listener, I did air quotes. Then they just have like a list of like jumbled words on the bottom that you don't even have to like look at the foreign sentence. You can just be like, what coherent sentence can I make out of these words? And then that's the answer. So, like you don't have to like even think about the other language at all. So that one's kind of dumb. Okay, it's better when you're translating into the language because at least you then have to know how to form a sentence in that language.
For Spanish, Dave, I suggest watching the Spanish weather women. It's crazy how hot they are. It's nuts. I'm like, after watching them, I don't even know what weather is, just heat.
I didn't realize those videos had audio. I guess I always watched them on mute.
Oh my gosh. Um,
Vince, when you were checking out Navajo, was it in any way similar to the Ho Chunk language or completely different?
there was some similarities for sure. Yeah, it was just uh, I I like how accessible that thing is. Like I like that there you could just pick it up and try and learn something. But yeah, I just don't think the lessons stay there,
Yeah.
because you have to say like, oh, how do you say hello? And you get it right, and then like, how do you say mom? And then you get that right, and then it's like, how do you say hello again? And you're like, oh God, we just did this, but it just doesn't stick. I don't know. There's something weird about it. Like I said, I like that this thing exists, and maybe someone can learn better from it, but I couldn't really.
Right.
No.
And like even for me, like I don't plan on stopping using it because like I can't really think of a better thing to do when I'm just like hecking around on my phone for no reason. Like I don't think there's anything that's a better use of my time, but yeah, I question how effective it is.
Uh, what language did they not offer that that would make you get into it? Anyone have a language that you're like, oh, I would love to speak this?
For Dave, it's got to be Lord of the Rings, like Elvish or something.
Elvish?
Yes, that would actually be great. I would
That would
love
be
that.
awesome. Yeah. Holy shit.
Then he can
I
be
would,
like,
I want to learn how to like write it and like draw the letters and stuff like that. It's very artistic.
You want to draw that
I,
door?
yeah, I was just saying
Yeah.
when Dave will be like watching the movies, like, when they speak friend and enter, they're actually using a northern dialect of the word friend, and
Yeah. That's why Gandalf was confused.
Oh yeah. All right. Segue challenge.
um,
Let's
how
keep
do
the
you
streak
translate?
going. Oh.
What's the next topic?
um. Well, I'll Dave. I'll go. I guess. Let's see here. Let's talk about uh, let's talk about my love. I love UFC 3 video game. You guys talk about video games all the time. Why can't I say. So
Yeah.
so this is the third installment of five. Um, and I had my qualms or whatever grievances with the games before this, but especially after this. And it's crazy the differences. But first of all, I have to say this is a 3D fight game, so much like Soul Calibur, which is one of my favorites of all times. But this is realistic to the point where it's like they capture what it is to watch the UFC for me so well. But one of the great things about it is that what sets it apart from Soul Calibur and other games is that there's a stamina bar, an endurance bar, which means you can get tired and like useless at the end of the first round if you're just like throwing hands like crazy, wrestling, like all that stuff could happen. Or if you're punched in the body, it takes away your, the gas tank. So much so, like in a real UFC fight. So right then and there, I knew that this was the one for me because I actually consider myself a counter striker. That's like, you kind of move, you get someone to throw at you, you duck and you strike something where they were open. I do that a lot. Like I don't even know if I would do that in real life, but I could do that in the video game, like that's my thing. I think Dave knows that too, because whenever we fight, he's like, "Nope, I know exactly how to defeat Vince." I'm like, "You fucker."
Yeah, like
Um,
that stamina bar, it really rewards you if you are patient and you more focus on timing rather than just throwing stuff out there like it's button mashing.
I was gonna say
Like,
when I play a fighting game, I'm just mashing buttons because I'm horrible at fighting games. So that does not sound like it would go well for me.
maybe. I mean, maybe you could be. No, well, see, that's the thing though. A lot of people, especially if you're a Counter Striker, you can deal with those people that are just blitzing on you. You know, you get used to being in that phone booth of violence and shit. You know where to block, and you know exactly when this guy's going to get tired. You know, because you're also watching his endurance bar. But that's one of the great selling points of that game that still exists in the franchise. But something crazy happened during UFC 4 or right before that, where they fired the developer, this designer, this guy who helped make these games so well. Because after they got rid of him, there was no more seamless transitions to like the clinch. It looked so sloppy when you were taken down and then you went up to ground and pound. It was uh almost like a cut scene or something in there. Like you weren't in control of what your body was doing. You just went into this weird pose, and it took some time to get to these different parts of the game, because you know you start off standing, you could kickbox and stuff, but then when you get into the wrestling and you go down to the ground, that's a whole nother story. And in when it comes to the ground stuff, there's jujitsu, that which is basically trying to strangle a person or manipulate their limbs so it's about to snap, so they have to tap, right? That has gotten grief, but it's only gotten worse. Like, I think this is the best way to handle it, where it's like you have to, there's four directions that your opponent is going to try and go to escape this hold that you have on him, and you actually have to follow him to kind of prevent him from moving. In the other ones, it's like these weird mini games where you have to like click the button a lot, so like you only have like this picture of macaroni where like, and you're a little dot and you're trying to get over and you're trying to avoid this other dot, and if it's touching each other for too long, then you tap. It just rips you out of what jujitsu is. And then in the third, or the latest one, the fifth one, I guess is even worse. It's like a waiting game. Like you basically hold on to each other and watch your endurance bars go smaller and smaller, and whoever gets there first can make the move. It's so shoddy, and I can't stand it. I love UFC 3. I play it like every day. I played it today too, while listening to Red Hot Chili Peppers
you know
and
what?
the other songs by John.
Bye,
You
John.
know what? Like the jujitsu, like the submission, like weird mini games with the moving bars and stuff. What that always reminded me of was like in Madden football, when you're kicking a field goal, like you always hit a bar that was moving and you'd have to like try and time it. So it was like in the middle, and then it would go like your power meter would go up and down, and then you'd time it. So it was powerful, but not too powerful because then it would end up you would lose accuracy. And like they perfected it back in like I would say like 2006 or 2007, but then in subsequent sequels they would alter it in different ways and just make it worse.
Uh,
And it was like it's like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Like you can leave the kicking mechanic the same as it was. You don't need to change it. And like nowadays, like I heard like reviews of this year's Madden, and people are complaining about how you kick field goals and how it's terrible again. And it's just like, why do they keep changing? Like figure out the best way to do it and then fine tune it and then leave it. Just step back.
um, oh, I want to say also that's very different is the realistic movement, and like not just realistic, but uh where it matches the fighter's actual style. Nate Diaz throws a weird jab that's totally different from Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? And you could see that. Like, they really went for realism in terms of representing the fighters, because all these fighters are so unique. And that's the other thing that 3 did that the other ones don't, where like there's only one fighter that could run and throw a jump kick to the face, and that's Fabricio Verdum, because he did that. In 2, everyone can box, everyone can wrestle and stuff, which is not the case. Like, Nate can't wrestle,
Yeah,
but then
that was exactly what I was going to ask you, actually. Like, so I've never played this game. So I was curious how much of a difference it makes which fighter you pick.
huge difference. Yeah. I remember Dave and I were going to have this tournament between ourselves, and we're like, okay, we pick 12 fighters, we'll have 6 fights, and we'll know ahead of time a month. We'll train with just those fighters.
Yeah.
And then we get there, we finally reunite, and Dave's like, I think I want to use a different fighter. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And then he beat me with that different fighter. And then I won every fight that we assigned each other. He won every fight where he was like, I'm just gonna pick this random new fighter.
Seems a little sus.
Hey, short notice fights are part of the game, man. Sometimes you got to take a short notice fight. Be prepared.
Is there are there fighters who are just like OP and like you actually have to say like, oh, you can't be that guy because he just is always going to win because he's so overpowered? Or
In a
is it
way,
truly like you can get good with any of them?
I think, okay, Conor McGregor, since he's the star and Dana's always on his dick, he is so much more powerful than he is in real life. However, they do give him bad endurance and bad stamina, which is exactly one of his faults. So I can't hate on it too much. That is realistic. And whereas Connor's dangerous in round 1, but after that, you could probably take him. So that's cool.
Yeah, they're like, I feel like some of the characters are a little overpowered. Um, but as long as you're another like high ranked guy, you should be able to take them. But you kind of know like what their strengths and weaknesses are. Like if you're John Jones, he's super tall, has very long arms and legs, so he's got a crazy reach. So you have to like fight a certain way against that style. It's like, but there are ways to kind of mitigate their advantage, but you have to think tactically about how you're going to attack them.
Um, and then finally, I have to say this: the online play is what gets my heart going, because, you know, like, you could get really good with you could know the ins and outs of a particular fighter, his weaknesses and stuff like that. So when you go against someone and, if you got the headset on and they're talking shit, which, they mostly are, it's so thrilling and satisfying to beat them. I beat a guy who had a fucking swastika drawn on his
Oh,
character. Like,
geez.
he manipulated the art, whatever, so it could
Yeah.
make a swastika. And I was like,
He
ooh,
took
I
his
have to.
time to do that.
Yes, this sick fuck was meticulous. uh, he's like 10,000 hours. You can make a swastika. Uh, anyways, but it's so satisfying to beat people online. It's so good. Yeah. Anything else about UFC 333?
Does that announcer that you like, Dave, is he in that game?
He is.
Oh yeah, Bruce Buffer. Yeah,
Yeah.
Buffer, that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you can choose to watch his whole intro, or you could, skip and stuff like that. It's pretty sweet.
I
Dave
feel
put
like
tape
when
over the skip button so he doesn't actually press it or accidentally press it, I mean.
Which is also the punch button. So
I feel like the entrances and stuff like that, I would, when I first got the game, the first day, I would watch all that. And then after that, it's just I skip it every time. Like I watched it once, it's over.
oh, that was a great indication playing online. you knew if you were dealing with a newbie or not. They would not want to skip the intro and stuff. Meanwhile, you're like, oh my God, I've played this so many goddamn times. So you just knew that you had someone green and you could take advantage of it.
Really? I always thought it was like a test of patience because I knew the other guy was getting pissed off by me not skipping it. And just, I'm like, we're going to watch this for a minute and 10 seconds. And he's just going to be sitting there mashing his controller, getting pissed off. And then I'm going to use that anger against him.
Oh my
How long
gosh.
does the match take? Like a fight?
You could it's sped up so that a 5 minute round is like 3 minutes.
So it's
However,
like a 3 minute round, and you're making him wait a minute and 10 seconds for this intro. That's hilarious.
oh my God, Dave, you're like those women who make their, gotta make them wait.
Yeah.
All right, segue challenge. Let's
Let's put in the cheat code to get to the end of this
no cheat
topic.
codes on UFC 3, by the way.
That you know of.
Yeah, really.
That's a shame. Every fighting game should have cheat codes.
Yeah.
I feel like it. It makes it more fun. Not for online play, but if you're just gonna play around with, locally, like with a friend or, single player.
Was it Dave?
Yeah. So I had an experience about 3-4 weeks ago, and I hated it. I went to the eye doctor, and I hate the eye doctor now. I feel like in the past, I've never really hated the eye doctor. I've had glasses since I was like 4 years old. Like I don't remember life without glasses. So I've always gone to the eye doctor. And when I moved, when I lived in Eau Claire, I always just went to the Shopco and always whatever doctor they had there, and they'd cycle through doctors. Like every year, you get a new doctor, and like explaining like my medical eye history to them, like every time, it kind of gets a little annoying, or not annoying, but like I don't want to go into a long spiel. I'm just going to be like, these are my issues. I have no issues. Let's move on. So, like, I've gone to the eye doctor forever. And when I moved down to Oklahoma, I asked around. I was like, hey, do you guys know a good place? And they're like, yeah, go to this place. I'm like, okay. So I went there, and like the office is named after a doctor. And the doctor I get is not the name on the outside of the building, it's some other lesser doctor. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And but I'll cut to the chase here with my last experience. This doctor, first off, she's like looking in my eyes and she's shining the light in my eyes. And she's like, okay. She's like, I want you to look at the light, but don't look at the light. Like, okay. She's like, just look to the side of it, but be looking straight ahead. I'm like, okay. And she looks at both of my eyes. And then and then she's done. She scrolls, or she kind of scoots back on her little stool that she's sitting on. And then she's like, you have a little bit of redness in your eyes. Do you have allergies? And I was like concerned. I'm like, she just spent like 5 minutes staring into my eyes and she sees redness. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I've never had a doctor say this before. And I'm like, I guess I have a little bit of seasonal allergy sometimes. She's like, I know some good drops that you can get. Here, let me give you a coupon. Here's a $5 coupon. You can get this over the counter. And she like turns into a salesman trying to sell me eye drops. And I'm like, what? How did my eyes look? Do they look healthy? I'm like, why are you giving me a coupon? And she's like, some of the side effects are dry eye. And I'm like, I don't.
Did she like pull off a mask and it's Ben Stein?
Oh my God, that's how I felt. I was like, why are you trying to sell me something? I'm like, I didn't come in here saying I had issues. Like, if my eyes are just a little bit red, I don't care. Like, I don't want to take something that's going to give me dry eye. Then I have an issue. Like, if a little bit of red, as long as my eyes aren't dry now and they're not watery, and they're not itchy. I don't know. She annoyed me then, but then I'm gonna get glasses, and I I pick out the frames and they barely gave me any time. They kind of rushed me. There's, like, are you done yet? Did you pick something out? I'm like, fine, like, whatever. I'm like, I picked out these glasses and I go over all these different options, what different lenses you can get and what different styles. And I pick out this stuff. And then she's like, we might get you some prism glasses. We'll call you. And then they call me 2 days later on the prism glasses. She's like, I talked to the other doctor. We don't recommend it. Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I wasn't a big fan of getting the prism glasses either. Let's just get the stuff that I ordered and they had written down. And they're like, okay. And then 2 weeks later, I've been waiting for a phone call for 2 weeks, expecting to, like, hey, my glasses are here. I get a call 2 weeks later, and they're like, oh, our doctor's on medical leave, and I was going through some of her stuff, and I was looking at this, and we were wondering if you wanted the prism on your glasses. And I'm like, no, I already talked to her about this, so I don't want that, and to just order the glasses that I had agreed on. But she had never ordered them, and now they just put in the order, and, like, I'm going to be waiting even more weeks until they finally come in. And I don't know. I hate the eye doctor. It was super annoying.
Oh, damn. Well, wait, you mentioned this is Shopko Eye Clinic, right?
That's where I went in Eau Claire. But
Oh,
here, this is like, like a really fancy building with the doctor's name on the outside. Even though I never see that doctor, I see one of her peons and I get terrible service. And I want to change eye doctors now.
Her name Dr. Visine.
No, Dr. Car salesman, basically.
What's a prism
A
in
prism
the
is
context of eyeglasses? I mean,
it is where one side of your lens is thicker than the other side.
okay.
So I'm slightly cross-eyed, so I kind of have double vision. So if it's thicker on one portion than the other portion, then it kind of takes the double image that I see and it moves them closer together.
oh.
Okay. Do
Uh,
you generally hate the eye doctor or this eye doctor? Because like this
This eye
experience sounds
doctor.
pretty horrible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really this eye doctor. And I've had like similar experiences with dentists where I go in there and they're like, hey, you should get this electric toothbrush for $120. Here's a $20 coupon. You can get it for only 100. And in my head, I'm like, people have not used electric toothbrushes for thousands of years and they've survived. Why do I need an electric toothbrush?
they don't know what
Oh.
you're bringing to their office with like brushing once.
Oh, they probably do know. And they're like, man, you need some industrial strength toothbrushes to fix this.
Well, John, do you wear glasses? What about the
Yeah.
clinic?
Um, I'm pretty, I guess, indifferent to positive to eye doctors. Like I've never really had a horrible experience, and they seem to like order the stuff I need. So I'm happy with them. Um, like the um sometimes you feel indecisive when they're like, what's better, one or two? And you're like, they look the
Rank them,
fucking
John.
same. Yeah, rank them. Yeah, exactly. That's why I hate it. I'm like, I don't know, they both have their merits. Maybe some days I want things to be a little blurry.
Well, sometimes it's like that one's clearer, but it's farther away. And that one's a little blurrier, but it's closer, which is nicer. I'm like, they do both have their merits.
Yeah.
Um, speaking of bad instances or whatever involving the eye doctor, so I was in elementary school, I believe, and I remember finally got this eye doctor appointment because I got to leave school and go with my mom, and we drove up to Marshfield, and we're in there, and I think it's like Thanksgiving or right before that or something like that, but it's brought up, and the doctor starts talking about it, and he's like, he gets on one knee in front of my mom and I, and clutches my mom's hand and says, I want to apologize for everything the white man has ever done.
Wow.
And my
So we're
mom was
like,
like, well, just like gently patted like his head, like, oh, okay, that'll make it there, you know.
so we're like good now, right? Because of that
Yeah,
doctor.
I forgot to tell everyone. He did say spread the word.
Yeah. So we're even. We're good. All right.
Oh my God.
Did your mom say, "Are you going to cover the bill for this as
Yeah,
well?"
yeah,
That would help.
yeah. That was so. Oh my god, I'll never forget that. That was so awkward, so fucking
Wow.
cringe. Oh my god. Anyways, oh, I also hate when they puff your eye with that stuff. It's
Oh
just,
yeah. The
like I
glaucoma
feel like
test or
I could,
whatever.
yeah, ah, yeah. And
You
that
can
little,
like pay money now and get a different test that checks for the same thing. So I don't remember what it was. It was like some kind of different scan that you can get, but they're like, well, insurance doesn't cover all of it, so you'll have to pay like $50 if you don't want the puff in your eye. And I'm like, oh man, do I want the puff in my eye or do I want a $50? Tough call.
I,
oh gosh.
before they do that puff, I always feel like it's Happy Gilmore and I'm Adam Sandler in the batting cage, and they're just gonna like hit me in the chest with a fastball, and I'm like, I'm not gonna blink. I'm not gonna blink. And I'm like, God, shit, I flinched. And I'm like, don't cry, don't cry. And then my eyes are watering, and I'm like, shit.
That's true. They really have you at a very vulnerable state when it looks like you're crying. Yeah, it happens like a lot. They're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm fine.
yeah.
This is
Rain.
fine.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Uh, oh, and it's also very scary though when they widen your eyes. Sometimes they have
Oh,
to do
the
that.
dilate.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Yeah,
It's super scary. But I mean, they give you those big glaucoma glasses, you know?
Yeah.
yeah. I had to like if I didn't have that done most recently, but I've had them dilated, and like on a sunny day, you have to. They give you like weird little like shades, but like I had to take like two sunglasses, stack them on top of each other, just to be able to kind of drive home, and like it was dangerous. Like I needed a driver. Like it was bad.
Yeah, because like even if it's not that bright out, your vision isn't normal when your eyes are dilated.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
because like I couldn't read any of the signs. And, like, but like I know where I'm going and stuff like that, so it's like it wasn't
I
an
know
issue
what
of me
you're
getting
trying to
lost.
tell me, Octagon. That's red.
Yeah, you say yield. I'm pretty sure.
Segue challenge. Does this,
Topic one or
yeah,
topic two?
beat
Topic
me to
one
it.
or
Yeah.
two?
Did you guys both have a chance to listen to the music that I? All right, I
Four
love
Seasons, yeah.
the musical work, The Four Seasons of Buenos Aires by Astor Piazzolla. Um, it's a classical piece, but it's very like tango inspired or has a lot of tango themes and motifs, maybe you would say. Um, I've seen it performed live a couple times by different orchestras here. Um, and there's an interesting version of it actually where it's arranged just for like stringed instruments, so like all violins and cellos and stuff like that. Um, and like I like that version a lot. And this is like the only time I've been at like the orchestra and the music they there's a part where on the strings they play just like a phrase of music from Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and like the audience actually laughed when that happened, which was like bizarre to me. Like I've never like been at a place where, like you think of classical music listeners as like stuffy,
Yeah.
like, whatever. And like to find humor in a piece of like non-lyric, non-vocal music just by like, oh, they referenced a thing. was like really amusing to me. But
Was it a
yeah, I
room full
just
of Fraser cranes and stuff
yeah,
like that? Like,
exactly. I
oh
mean,
yes.
that's how I imagine it. Yeah. um, but yeah, I love this. Like I've listened to all this stuff by the same composer, and it's all like tango inspired, and I'm a big fan of it in general. But I love the Four Seasons of Buenos Aires especially.
So
Um, go ahead.
is the original work is by Vivaldi,
Yeah,
right?
the Four Seasons. Yep.
So is this version that we listen to is like the original kind of tango, or is this like a version of it that is has like infused with tango?
So it's a completely new composition. Um, that it's like, oh, like Vivaldi, you represented the Four Seasons of, your home in Europe in music with your Four Seasons. So I'm going to represent, what it's like in Argentina in music with my Four Seasons. So
Ah,
there are references to the original work, but all in all, it's like a completely new piece of music.
okay. That's
And it,
interesting because like when I was searching it to find it on like Apple Music, at first when I heard Four Seasons, I was like, oh, Vivaldi, okay. So I just typed in Vivaldi, and then I couldn't find anything by Vivaldi. It was all just all these different artists. And I'm like, why don't they have anything for Vivaldi? And then it like struck me light bulb. I'm like, oh yeah, because he did all this shit like 500 years ago. Obviously, he doesn't have any original recordings out there. And I'm an idiot. So I'm like, it's everyone's just rendition of that.
Oh
And
yeah, so
then
you're seeing it's like the Deutsche Philharmonica, or like,
yeah,
yeah,
yep, the New York,
yeah, yeah.
Philharmonica or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
yeah.
hilarious.
So then yeah, once I typed in like the Buenos Aires and then Artosa or whatever that guy's name is. Um yeah, and then I found it. Like it was awesome. I really loved it. I used to listen to classical music a lot when I was in school and studying. It was great to like it kind of just helps you think better and focus, and it's not distracting like other styles of music, especially stuff with lyrics. Um, so it's really fun to be working on something and listen to classical music like this. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it kind of like I feel like I want to listen to more stuff now.
for sure. That was so I was playing UFC while listening to this, and that was pretty cool. But I immediately started to pick up on, I guess that's what it is, the tango parts, the real quick, jerky movements of sound. I'm
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
like it really started to stand out to me over time. Is it roughly like 27 minutes? Because that's the video I watched. They performed it live or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I think that, yeah, there's like, four seasons, and each one is like 6 or 7 minutes. So that would make sense.
Yeah, just really really awesome. There was a piano player on that one, and it kind of reminded me of another song that I like, or a style. Rhapsody in Blue. That was
Gershwin?
Yeah, that was going to be a
Yeah.
Future Love. But I was like, I don't know how to really describe music sometimes, especially if it doesn't have lyrics or something. I'm like, I don't know. I think the strings sound pretty. I don't know. You know. But this was good. It had a lot of moments where I'm like, oh, it really reminds me of that. But yeah, I'd like to listen to more of this stuff. I feel like I'm slightly more cultured now. Yeah,
I can tell just by looking at you.
yeah, anything? Wait. So who do I type up to listen to more of this work? Who actually is the artist?
So Piazzola is the composer, and so like if you want to hear stuff that he wrote and composed, that's what you would search for. But then, yeah, it's always going to be like, like the Milwaukee Orchestra, or like something like that will be the performing artist. And like, you're not going to go wrong. Like anyone who performed the work, I'm sure is doing a good job. If you're really into it, you can look for specific conductors or something probably, but like I don't know enough about it to give you any guidance there.
Sure.
Although I would check out if you can find like the version that's arranged for strings or for stringed instruments. I'd recommend listening to that one too, because it's different enough to be worth hearing a different way.
Sweet. Segue challenge. Let's
We've had the 4 topics of the Goldilock Bears. Time to get on to the 5th.
All right. Let's see here. You know what? I'm gonna go with my indifference. I'm indifferent to the Venture Brothers. It's a animated show on Adult Swim. God, it's been around for a while because it takes them like what, 2 years per season to produce, something like that. So the thing that immediately captured my attention or my appreciation was that it was uh you know the way it was illustrated. I really enjoyed it. It was a throwback to like Johnny Quest, which I kind of grew up on, so I like, oh, that's awesome. It's an homage to Johnny Quest at first, and then it was funny. I was like, oh yeah, I like to laugh. And I liked some of the ideas and stuff, but eventually I was like, this is, every character is basically a parody of some already existing character, some other, what's it called, IP, right? Which means something, property.
Intellectual
Intellectual.
property.
Yes, there we go. Thank you.
As an intellectual.
Uh, so it's funny, but it's also quite depressing. The whole concept is like taking these awesome characters and like, oh, he's actually a horrible alcoholic. This character, it seems familiar, like Johnny Quest. They turned him into a junkie. Uh, Race Bannon, he's just injured the whole time, and it's just like it's really just kind of taken the whatever was fun about these childhood characters and just like giving them a twist, but the twist is always the same: disappointment. You don't, they're not cool anymore. No one's good. Everyone gets in these failed relationships and stuff. So that kind of halts me from enjoying the show for too long, because after a while it's just like, here's a thing that's cool. How do we turn that into like a post modern comedy where it's like, oh, here's a spider creature and he stops and he's like, oh, my back hurts because I had to move a couch. Like it's always about taking something cool and turning it into the most mundane thing, and it's that over and over again. But the main thing that really sticks in my craw is that it's references, constant references. I put on an episode and I just wrote down, there was a homies reference, those little toy things, Mr. Pibb, the drink, when you scrunch up a straw and pour water in, it'll do a thing, right? It's just these pre-existing things. They reference Easy Rider, Rocky Horror Picture Show, the Scared Straight program. There's this odd, obscure reference to the Dixie Cups. John Woo is parodied. There's a reference to Master Blaster, which is from Mad Max, and then a Javon Musk reference, and I don't even get that one. But like the point is, it's like,
I think
always,
that's a perfume.
Sure, why
or
not?
A cologne or something like that.
My point is, it's like every few minutes, the button on a scene, the punchline is a reference. And to me, it's just like, that's just not funny. It seems lazy. I feel like this is just Robot Chicken. Seeing people play with toys from their childhood, but saying like, "Hey, this is Papa Smurf, but he's got hemorrhoids." You know what I mean? Like it's just constantly turning something on its head, but in a shitty way, I feel like. But yeah, what do you guys think about Robot Chicken Venture Brothers?
I definitely haven't watched a lot of them. I've seen maybe like the first 3 seasons or something, and even then, I don't remember a lot of it. To refresh myself, I saw that they had season 2 on Hoopla, so I went and watched like the first episode of season 2, and I got some laughs out of it, but I can definitely see what you're saying. Like for example, in this season or in that episode, there was a flashback of Dr. Venture with like a Haji analog from Johnny Quest or whatever.
Mm.
But as an adult, he just had no memory of him. And he's like, but we had all these adventures together, and they show him like doing all this stuff together. He's like, no, not ringing a bell. Like I did think that was kind of funny, but I can see if it's like the same thing over and over again, how you get sick of it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I was surprised to see you listed as an indifference, but then I was thinking like, well, it's not like I've gone and watched every single season of it, so I don't think I could say that I love it or anything like that, but I definitely have a fondness for it based on what I remember of watching it.
I have never watched it.
Oh, oh,
I have never even watched a scene of it that I'm aware of. I used to watch like a little bit of like Adult Swim, but I watched like Family Guy, I watched Archer and Aqua Teen Hunger Force. And I enjoyed all three of those. However, I did feel like at the basis of those shows, the trend was always them referencing things. And anytime I ever watched anything else that was Cartoon Network or Adult Swim, that's was like the writing style of almost everything. Um, and it like you said, like it feels kind of lazy. They're not really focused on the story of anything. It's just like, oh, there's this, and there's remember this, remember this, remember this, and they're just referencing things the whole time. And it's like a rapid fire, like boom, 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 like one thing to the next. And it's I don't know, like there's an artistic fun part element to that. However, if you're like sitting down and watching a show and there's multiple episodes, you get like episode fatigue. Like I think if you watch like a 20-minute episode, it's fine. But like for binge watching, these types of shows don't work for me, and I just don't enjoy it, and I kind of stop watching it. Like if I watch Bob's Burgers, like I freaking love that show, but I can watch like 2 episodes and then I gotta change it.
yeah, I don't know. Like like I said, I admire the that those there's two creators, and I think they voice quite a bit. Oh, however, though, the voices though, man, it's really hit or miss sometimes. Like I think I referenced Sergeant Hatred before on this show, where I just hate his fucking voice. I think it's the laziest thing you could ever do, and it was also grating on me. Like, hey boy, I can't, like, it's something like that, Sergeant Hatred, something like that. But no, worse than that. That actually sounds better. But fucking, they replaced that character with Brock. Brock basically had to go away, who was great. And then so they were like, oh, Sergeant Hatred is possibly the replacement. But these two creators heard the backlash, and they just doubled up. They're like, oh, we're going to put Sergeant Hatred. He's going to be now part of the storyline. Same thing to do with those two twins. They're dwarves, little people, and they work for Dr. Girlfriend. And people were like, we hate these characters. And I was totally with them. I'm like, yeah, they're very annoying. I can't stand their accents and shit. They're just like, go away. the creators hear about that, they're like, oh, now they're going to be in even more episodes and stuff. So it's very odd that they're like that with their fans. Like I
Yeah.
understand not listening to whatever, but to go against what they say is weird. I don't know.
Right, when it's because like the characters are just annoying to be in the episode. Like, oh yeah, like I can understand like not not doing what fans want as far as like, oh, how you should resolve plot lines and stuff like that, because like fans don't know what they want until it's happened, and like usually what they come up with is probably going to be worse. But yeah, to just actively like spit in their face with these annoying characters doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, totally odd. I don't know. But yeah, I don't like I put on another episode today and I laughed at some stuff, but again, it's just constant references in the dialogue. The dialogue really reads phony to me. There's something about their conversations that are always eventually leading to the reference. You know, they're oh my gosh, it's crazy. And
Like
they
they know what
kind
the
of
reference is going to be and they work their way backwards to it, kind of.
yeah, yeah, very much so. And it really eventually kind of goes up its own ass when they create like this secret service thing. Basically, all villains have to work for a corporation, or they have to deal with it and deal with their guidelines and stuff, which was funny at first. You're like, oh, that's so weird that supervillains have to have a protocol. Then it became all about that protocol for like the next 4 seasons. It was crazy. It's I mean, they moved to New York and changed it up, but then instead of like Scooby Doo and detective stuff, it's all superheroes in those last 2 seasons. It's so bizarre. Yeah. Ah. Segue challenge. Um.
Can you say something in a Patrick Warburton impression?
No. Oh, that's tough.
Dang it.
Oh, I always thought real quick that Dr. Venture, his character design was based off of Chester Bennington when he has the really short shaved haircut and the glasses. I was like, that's fucking Chester right there. Oh, and again, since they're not really original at all, I feel like Brock Sampson is a ripoff of Virgil from Mighty Max. And I'm sure you guys never saw that show, but trust me, it's about this big hulking guy who likes to do violence, but he's also very like, what would you call it? It's Brock Sampson, all right? It's
All right.
totally, it's crazy. All right, segue challenge though. What do we say? Let's reference another topic as the button of the scene.
Yeah.
Let's swing into a new topic here. I love hammocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Swing in, I get it.
yeah.
I would call it lazy, like a hammock.
Exactly. Like hammocks are a tool for laziness. And it's when you have the right tool for the job, it's a work of art. And I was camping this last weekend, and on Saturday, I had no plans other than I was going to wake up, make myself some breakfast on the little propane Coleman stove I have, and then I was going to take a book and my phone and my headphones and hike up into the woods. Not really hike, just kind of walk a fair distance away where I couldn't see any people, go into the woods and just tie up my hammock between a couple trees and just lay in the hammock. And I laid in my hammock for like 2 hours and it was so relaxing. I loved it. I just like didn't hear any people, any noise. I was just out in nature. It was sunny, it was kind of warm. Not too warm though, but it was great. I just freaking loved it. And like the hammock I have is something that you just tie between two trees, You can buy it on Amazon. It was $12.
Classic.
Yeah, it's $12, cheapest thing you can find on Amazon. And I'm like, I freaking love this thing. I'm like, this isn't even like a nice, comfy one. I don't even know what those would be like. I'm kind of intrigued and I want to get a better hammock because I'm like, if I love this really crappy one, like if I had a good one, be like amazing. I'd just blow my mind probably. But I am interested in getting like a hammock for like my backyard because then I can just chill out. But the problem is like I live in town and there's like you don't know if there's noisy neighbors or dogs barking and just I don't know. But I have the noise canceling headphones, so that can kind of help out with that. So I can put on some Buenos Aires and kind of just zone out and relax in the hammock. Um, but I freaking love it. I love it's super relaxing. It was super cheap. It kind of gives you an excuse to kind of hike out into the woods a little bit and find a secluded spot and then just, bring a pillow and a book and just chill out for an hour.
Oh yeah. John, what are your hammock tales?
Well, we always have a couple hammocks up on the camping trip. And yeah, they're just like the nylon ones or whatever, where, they compress down into like a tiny little bag, like the size of your fist. So they travel really well. And then, yeah, you just tie them to a couple trees and good to go. And really nice for a lazy afternoon nap, that's for sure. My one buddy who goes camping, he was trying to convince us that kids call it mocking when you're like laying in a hammock, which I've never heard from anybody else ever anywhere. But it always makes me think of like, like the news reporters when they're trying to tell you something scary, like the kids call it mocking. Find out what the children might be doing in your neighborhood, even as we speak.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, like I'm kind of curious if that is real or not. I've never heard of it, although I am ancient. God, God. Well, I got to have a fucking. I was living with Jordan, and we bought the hammock that's like it's got like the support structure underneath it. So then, it's like a big banana shape or whatever, and then the hammock goes in between. We had that in our living room. It was so awesome. It was an instant icebreaker. The ladies certainly enjoyed the hammock. And it was so sweet. Like I've never lived that way before or since, but I wouldn't mind. I would probably do that again. Like there's a stupid couch taking up so much space. It could easily be a hammock again. That was awesome.
God,
That was a lot
that
of fun.
couch isn't a sectional, is it?
No, not this one.
Oh,
Not the
okay.
bad one.
Thank goodness. They also make hammock tents, um, which over the years, two or three people have tried them and they never like work out well. Um, like they get cold in there, you get like bugs can bite through them even though there's like a net because you're up in the air and like you just can't like if you're a side sleeper, I think it doesn't work the best. Um, like they just never like some people swear by them, but nobody in our group has ever like had a good week in a hammock tent.
So that's a hammock, but then you could just zip yourself up, almost like a
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
like a
And there's
sleeping
more
bag.
structure to it and stuff, but you're still like hanging it up in trees and yeah.
We totally had one of those when we were living in Elk Mound, and I tried it like, and I really wanted to enjoy it, but yeah, like I think bugs and I think it rained and stuff like that. It just wasn't that fun, and
Yeah, I
you get a
don't
little claustrophobic.
yeah, I don't feel like a hammock tent would be comfortable enough. Like I was in the hammock for 2 hours and like that's the limit for me. Like if I'm sleeping, I want to be on a mattress, something soft and cushy. And because like with a hammock, it's just fabric and like your body weight is pushing it down. So there's like no way to escape gravity when you're trying to get comfortable. Like you could turn over on like lay on any part of your body, but you still have gravity pushing down on you and there's like nothing below you to support you. So I feel like I would end up with back pain if I was in it too long.
Any ever witness any funny falls out of the?
I have not, but I was afraid of falling out of it because I noticed there was a couple rocks like underneath me, and I'm like, man, if this, I didn't trust myself when I was tying it up to the trees. I didn't really know how to do it, and it wasn't until like at first I like noticed there was ants crawling up my hammock, and then I'm like, wait, why are there so many ants? And I'm like flicking them off. And then I'm like, what the heck? And I kind of reach my arm underneath, and I'm like, oh, I weigh enough where it just sagged down, where like the hammock, I wasn't touching the ground, but I was touching grass, like tall grass. And I think ants were crawling up that. So then I elevated it up the trees so that way I was much higher off the ground, even though the instructions are like no more than 18 inches off the ground. And I'm like, screw you, I need to get away from the bugs. So I didn't have bugs crawling over me. So I was a little worried, but the second time I tied it, I was actually a lot more confident that it wasn't going to break.
I
Uh,
definitely have not seen anyone fall out of a hammock, but I've heard it happen. Like a couple of times, just people being drunk and falling out of the hammock. And then one time, um, hear someone fall, I'm like, oh fuck, or whatever. And then they come over and like the carabiner that it was hanging, um, was completely bent straight. Like it wasn't like a circle anymore. It was a straight line. You read it and it says like novelty use only, like do not use this for climbing or something like that. Like it was just some, like random thing, like a keychain or something, basically.
oh, okay. I was like, what would be novel about a carabiner? I guess a keychain, yeah. Because that would suck if you like climbing rocks, you know.
Right, yeah.
That sucks. Oh man. You know, early memories of this cartoon called Gabby, where he ties his hammock between two trees, but what? They're not trees, they're giant moose antlers. So that was quite funny.
Gilligan's Island, like sleeping in hammocks all night, every night.
Oh, are they? I've never seen that show. I don't think I have.
Oh, I loved it when I was a kid. Don't know if it
I've seen
holds up, but
I've seen a couple clips of it, and it was super weird, and I don't know. I just the whole time I was trying to understand the premise of who these people were, and like
oh, it's right
there's
in
the
the
couple.
It's
opening
right.
song.
Yeah, yeah.
I know. Well, yeah, like there's the captain or whatever, or the professor or something like that, and then there's the two ladies. But like they're all in an island together, so I'm just like, well, who's sleeping with who? Who's dating who? Because I'm like, obviously somebody's hooking up here because they're on a deserted island for way too long. Like something's got to be going down.
Yeah, who's the she's like really cute. There's like Ginger and there's someone else. I think I like
Marianne.
the Marianne. Yeah, she was cute.
Hmm.
Uh anyways, that's the end of Hammock Talk. Actually, that's the end of the show, eh?
Yeah, eh?
Yeah, let's get out of here. Like, subscribe, comment if you're on YouTube. Go to a few goldilockbears.com and make sure to tell your friends. I'm Vincent Cloud.
And tell your friends I'm John Nemitz.
And I'm David Lauer.
Refuses to shill.